Alright, this is the best builds of Dead by Daylight in 2020. Now keep in mind, for those that are watching, this is before the Dredge comes out. This is May 19th, or May 29th as I'm recording this, so the DLC is not dropped. But a lot of like I don't even know if there are perk changes that are coming with the update, but the perks that are dropping on the survivors end are really not that great, and therefore they aren't really going to factor into this video at all. And the devs did announce that a good amount of perks are going to be reworked at some point. So when that happens, if any perks in this video do get heavily reworked, in such a way that they are either more viable than ever or completely unviable, then there will be like a future video that is uploaded. But until then, this is it, basically. So here it goes. This is the standard runners build, which is Dead Hard, Resilient, Spine, Chill, Filler. The idea behind this is you are very comfortable injured throughout the match, and you have multiple perks that are going to be super reliable, and you're going to get use out of them every game. Dead Hard is the best exhaustion perk in the game when used correctly. If you have a good user of Dead Hard, they might as well just be considered invincible, because they will run loops super well, and then they Dead Hard, and then they extend the chase by another minute and a half, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because Dead Hard is super strong, and its strength is exemplified by the support perks that you decide to run alongside it. So Resilience and Spine Chill make it easier to vault windows and stuff. So you vault that stuff faster. You're able to do gens and other actions with bonuses. So with Resilience, it's like a small 9%. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but with Spine Chill, it can come in clutch in some scenarios, whether if you're like finishing a gen or you're doing a door or something like that. And then you have a filler, which can be anything. Adrenaline is okay here because Adrenaline is really good in late game scenarios. Obviously, with Adrenaline, its best case scenario is that you're in a late game and you're being chased by the killer, and then Adrenaline pops, and then you just run to something super safe, and then they can't do anything about it. They either have to continue chasing you or break off. But usually what most people run in this slot is Decisive Strike as a anti-tunneling tool. No, Decisive Strike is not as good as it used to be. Like a few years ago, I would have said that this slot it would be non-negotiable for Decisive Strike, for the simple fact that back then you can still do generators and unhook people with DS and not care in a world because you have basically this aura of safety, and you're able. This basically encouraged people to be risky as hell and everything, whereas today, not so much. This is exclusively an anti-tunneling tool. The idea behind this, in its best case scenario, you get chased, you get tunneled, you get chased for an additional 50 seconds, you get down, and at the very last second or whatever, you DS them, and then you run to something that's very safe. Or you get hooked in a dead zone, you get downed, you're on death hook, you DS them, you run to something like Shack or some really safe pallets that the killer cannot mind game very well, and then you have Dead Hard and these really good perks that are good in chase, and then that's it. Like, the killer is going to waste, at the very least, 30 to 40 seconds. And if you're really good, then you can utterly destroy them. But of course, not every person is going to do this, because to properly use this build, you actually have to be good at the game. Shockingly enough. And another good filler here is Iron Will. This exemplifies the whole I'm comfortable with being injured by just having a perk that nullifies all the sounds that your character makes. So now the matchup against Spirit is a lot better now. That's really good. The matchup against Nurse is even better. I think having any advantage against Nurse directly in chase is super good. This is also pretty good against killers that that have to red glow mind game to really get any value out of their power at all. So Legion is usually a heavy mind gamer. Ghostface is a heavy mind gamer. A lot of the stealth killers tend to be heavy mind gamers, and Iron Will helps out a lot by turning the tables on them a bit. And with Iron Will, you're also able to make more risky plays, which is what this build is meant to do. It's meant to encourage you to make risky plays, take risks. No matter how risky it is, it's supposed to you will reap the rewards of wasting as much of the killer's time as possible. And another good filler here is Windows of Opportunity. This is something that Dancing Leosayer likes to use a lot. And what Windows likes... What the fuck am I saying? I'm trying to say a bunch of things at once. Jesus Christ. What Windows does is it lets you see loops, either while you're on a gen, Mindbreaker notwithstanding, or while you're being chased by the killer, you're able to see what pallets are up, the layouts of loops, and you develop a game plan beforehand, which is really, really good. And it's very reliable. And that's pretty much it with this. It's very simple. I would say those are the only options you should use. Windows of Opportunity, DS, and Iron Will. Don't mess around with, like, some of the other... Like, don't use Self-Care, please. I know Self-Care is, like, a very popular option. But Self-Care is bad and very passive and doesn't do anything. Please don't use it. It's terrible. That's all I have to say about that. And next is going to be the second runner's build. So, this, like the Dead Hard Resilient Spine Chill build plus filler, this is similar to that, only it is flexible with its exhaustion perk rather than a fourth. So you have Iron Will, Windows, and Spine Chill, which is extremely reliable in every game. It's basically the same as like the Dead Hard build, where you want to you have perks that will always work every single game. And that's what all these builds are aiming for, is consistency. Every match, every game, no matter what. And this build basically means that you can put Balanced Landing, Dead Hard, or Live in the first slot. And then you have these three perks, and then you're good to go. That's it. And it basically makes you as flexible as possible. And hell, if you really want to, you could even like bring map offerings to get better use out of your exhaustion perk. You want to get good use out of Live? Where is Live? There it is. Yeah, you want to get good use out of Live? Bring an Auto Haven map. Bring a fucking where is it? Coldwind. Coldwind tends to have pretty strong windows. So does Swamp. I mean, Swamp is garbage, but in fact, yeah, don't ever bring Swamp. Why would you do that to yourself? Hell, Balanced Landing and Live are super good on RPD. Don't use them together, because unless if you're memeing, of course. But you can bring like a map offering with like this build, change the exhaustion perk, the suit, whatever is best for you, and then you're good to go, so long as you like know how to run those maps. And that's really all I have to say about this. Is, you know, you have 3 super reliable perks, good filler, and real quick I'll mention the reason why I didn't mention the other exhaustion perks is because those exhaustion perks have builds of their own, except Smash Hit, because Smash Hit is very, very not good. Like, sure, it's a good Spirit Fury Enduring power, or counter, but you're running a perk to counter Spirit Fury Enduring. Like, what is that? And not to mention the amount of killers that can punish you for throwing pallets in the game now. It's a pretty massive list. Let's see. Nurse, Huntress, Trickster, Deathslinger, Tunnelhead, Nemesis. The list is probably more extensive than that. Hell, there are a lot of killers now that will just not respect the extremely safe pallet and try to just blood loss. And you can just not drop the pallet ever and then loop it indefinitely and punish them for not respecting it. So, yeah, smash hit is bad. Don't use it. And the next build we're going to talk about is the Overcome build. Now, this build is very, very specific, and it is tailor-made to get as much use out of Overcome as possible. Overcome has the strongest effect in the game. You get hit, and you basically zoom across the map. There are matchups where Overcome is going to be useless. Plague, Exhaust and Hatchet Huntress, Nurse is pretty bad, but those are the exception to the rule. And usually this build is going to be like as good as it gets with Overcome. So you have Overcome, obviously, and then Botany Knowledge with like a super strong medkit. Now with the super strong medkit, you can run either the emergency medkit or the ranger medkit. You want to use the strong ones. I do not use like the yellow, and obviously don't use the brown one because that's just going to be a waste of time. You're going to be wanting to just make your medkit as OP as possible. So with the green one, just slap on a gel dressing and a gauze roll. You don't need to put on like speed add-ons or anything like that on this, because Botany Knowledge increases the healing speed by 33%, and you're already healing pretty fast with the green medkit as it is, and now you are healing even faster Botany, and you're going to be able to heal constantly over and over and over again. And with like the purple medkit, it's kind of similar, except you run like a speed add-on on it. So like a gel dressing and then a surgical suture. I mean, I guess if you're like really crazy, you can run like a gauze roll, but that's pretty overkill. You can run like 2 speed add-ons if you want to, but generally you want to run like a gel dressing plus either a gauze roll or a speed add-on. And then you have like windows of opportunity. This is non-negotiable on Overcome because the idea is that you get hit and you're going to be able to go wherever you like, when you like. The ideal way to use Overcome is that you preemptively run away. Usually, if you're gonna go for that style, though, you're gonna want Spine Chill, because Spine Chill is gonna let you know when the killer's actually going for you. You preemptively run to like a pallet, you play the loop, and if you get hit, you overcome to something that's even safer. Or you play the loop, you know, you win the loop, and then you go elsewhere, and then you get to hold on to Overcome for as long as you need. If you're able to hold on to Overcome, that's when Overcome is at its strongest. Because you get hit, and either like the killer has to now be like, oh, this guy is basically teleported across the map, and there's nothing that I can do. So either I have to commit to him running to the extremely safe loop, or I have to let that survivor go, let them heal instantly, and then just let them go do whatever, because that's what's going to happen with this Overcome build. You're going to be able to pick and choose when you get chased. When you do get chased, you can play super safe, run to something that is in your favor, get hit, run to something else that's even farther away that's also in your favor, and then the killer... The idea is to screw the killer, basically. That's what this build is to ruin the killer's entire game and make them miserable playing you. Now, Spine Chill is actually pretty versatile. You don't actually need this. This is just a preference. Although Spine Chill synergizes very well with Overcome because you get to see through stuff like Plaything and Tinkerer, as well as like Stealth Killers. So Wraith is completely ruined by this as well. Because Wraith's whole thing, he wants to surprise attack you, so does Ghostface. Well, now you're just wasting both of their time. You run forward, and either they play, or they have to run away and ignore you and go for you later on, or you make them play your game, and you have the advantage, and then they can't do anything, and then they slap you, or you force them to slap you, and then you just zoom across the map, and then they have to give up because they're stealth killers with pretty weak chasing powers, and they cannot deal with the idea that you are zooming across the map. And you can exemplify this even further with stuff like Vigil. Vigil makes the whole healing run away thing even better, because not only are you healing super fast, you're resetting super fast, but now you have Vigil, which gets rid of exhaustion faster. You're able to shave off like a few seconds off of that timer. So not only are you healing super fast, but now you're getting your overcome back faster. So you're making that whole process even worse for the killer. And this is also good for Fearmonger. You get off the gen if you know the killer's coming there. You get your overcome, and then you start the chase. And now they have no choice but to deal with overcome. This is also pretty good for like haunted ground as well, I guess. I don't know if this works on like Ghostface or not. It may, but feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And what's another good option here? Oh yeah, Prove Thyself. So the idea of Prove Thyself is you have this perk that lets you take hits for your teammates. You know, if they're like in a bad spot or they're injured or whatever, you take a hit for them, and then you overcome across the map. And either they gotta go for you, or they gotta go for your teammate. That's the idea with overcome. Pretty much every time, if they know you have overcome, they're gonna commit to your injured teammate. But you've given your injured teammate the chance to actually like play the loop. They don't have to like pre-drop. They don't have to go down, and they don't have to do any of that. You take the hit for them, and they're able to actually play. That's unless if it's a nurse, and then the nurse just teleports through you because she's a broken, overpowered character and doesn't care. But also what Prove Thyself lets you do is once you reset, you get on a gen with somebody, and then you just slam the gen with them. This is really, really good as well, especially during like blood point events where you can just farm. That's also very good. And that's pretty much it for Overcome. It's really good. That build's really good. Use it. Next up, we're going to talk about Boon Totems. So, this is the Boon Totem build. 2 boons, Exhaustion perk, Filler. Now, with this, you're always going to want these 2. These are non-negotiable, especially Shadow Step. Circle of Healing only is passive, bad, and very, very terrible. I do not care what anybody says. Circle of Healing only is bad. It used to be good before it got nerfed. Now Circle of Healing is bad. And also, if you have a Boon Totem build that lets you get sniped by info perks, that's just really, really bad for you and your team, because they go to reset your totem. Well, now the killer is going to pressure them because, you know, they can't get shielded by Shadow Step. They can't lose the killer at all if they get chased. There's no potential of losing the killer. That's fucking nonsense. You're going to want these 2 perks no matter what. These are non-negotiable. So with that being said, you have these 2 extremely strong perks that killer mains everywhere fucking hate. You have your Exhaustion perk, which could be a lot of things. I've seen people use Self-Aware and Sprint Burst. Angry Pug likes to use that. Dead Hard, you know, is dead hard. So not only do you have these super strong perks, but now you have the best perk in the game as well. So at that point, you could even use Overcome as well. Overcome is really ridiculous, as we said before with the previous build where you reset a billion times. Now you can just use Overcome and just lose the killer in its entirety, because you were able to overcome either into the Shadow Step, or you're in the Shadow Step, you overcome, you know, out of their line of sight, and then they gotta figure out where you are, and they might just waste a bunch of time and not even fucking find you. So overcome can potentially just be like, I get slapped, I lose the killer, I reset, and then I do it a million times and the killer can't do anything, and the killer starts getting really mad. Hell, I've even seen matches with Dancing Leosair using Overcome with these two, and he's overcomed in his totem, and every time he resets the totem, the killer will stop what they're doing to go look for that totem, and he set the totem elsewhere, and then they waste massive amounts of time looking for a totem that doesn't even fucking exist. This is also good with, like, head-on, too. You could use, like, head-on and quick and quiet with this to really, really, really fuck with the killer. Because now, you can head-on them once, and then you lose the killer in Shadow Step, and then they instinctively start checking lockers, or they start respecting lockers and the head-on. And then they open the lockers, nothing happens, and then they look at a shack window, and then you're across the map. So head-on with quick and quiet is really, really good with boons. Surprisingly good with boons, actually. In fact, we're going to be talking about head-on later on, but this might be like the best head-on set in the entire game. Because the potential mind games with this are absolutely devastating. And the amount of time you can waste is even more so. But obviously, you know, you can use any exhaustion perk you like, so long as it isn't Smash Hit, because Smash Hit sucks. And Sprint Burst. I mean, obviously I said you can use Sprint Burst with Fixated, but that's a lot more niche. But also, if you're using something like Dead Hard or Balanced Landing, the fourth slot is pretty open for you. You can use Iron Will, which... Yeah, as if Shadow Step wasn't enough. Now you have Iron Will, so now the killer doesn't see your scratch marks, they can't hear your grunts of pain or anything. So the odds of you losing the killer are extremely high. Making for these really ridiculous scenarios where you get hit in mid-chase and then you just randomly lose them, and you have wasted massive amounts of time, and now they've lost massive amounts of momentum. Small game is also pretty good here. You know, if you're expecting to be on a map where the totem placements are completely garbage or random, small game is really good. Especially for, like, people that don't know, like, the totem locations, small game is very good. Windows of Opportunity, you know, you could obviously use that. Windows is going to be good no matter what. And, even, like, the other boon totem, not Dark Fury. Do not use Dark Fury. It is embarrassingly bad and terrible. Do not use it. You could even use Boon Exponential. Very, very, very niche, but in, like, the games where people get Boon Exponential value, this perk, it makes this perk look like the best in the fucking game. And you actually also have options in the item slot as well, because you can use a rainbow map. What the rainbow map lets you do is that you're able to track objectives, not so much the hatch. Don't rely on this to find the hatch, because it's not very good at finding the hatch at all. But the most important part of this is finding the killer's belongings. So, and you automatically start with an 8 meters with it. So if you slap on an odd stamp, that's cool. That's what, 24 meters? Unless my math, or no, that's, wait, 7, 8, no, that's 18, sorry, I can't do math. Wait, is it? Yeah, it is, no. No, it's 20, yeah, I can't, dude, I'm fucking brain dead, sorry. So yeah, you get 20, basically a 20-meter radius to find, like, totems that are instantly added to your map. This also means that unlike stuff like Detective's Hunch, you automatically know where most of the totems are. And hell, if you really want to know where all the totems are, like, instantly, you can equip both stamps. The totems are automatically added to your map. So there you go. You have both stamps. You can find hexes immediately. Dual totems. You can find anything you want, and this also marks all the generators on your map too. So you also know where most of the generators are at the beginning of the match. So that means you don't have to mess with shit like Visionary or Deja Vu or whatever, because you basically know where all that stuff is. And barring like, you know, dickhead perks like Franklin's Demise, you're going to be keeping this all game, because you aren't going to be holding it down unless you're using like a Detective's Hunch build, but those are also niche. I also forgot to mention, you totally can just like, if you really, really want to, you could use like Detective's Hunch here, but using an exhaustion perk is like infinitely better, obviously. And yeah, the rainbow maps are super good with Boon Totems, because you don't have to like waste a lot of time finding the totems, you just find them immediately. So that's really it for Boon Totems. Next, I believe, is the farming build, right? Yes. Okay. So, this is the best farm build in the entire game, bar none. You have both Boon Totems, which give you 1,500 gold every time you set them. You have Prove Thyself, so after you do 2 generators with somebody else, your objective is basically maxed. If you heal somebody with somebody else, then you are going to get a fuck ton of Ultrism. And with We're Gonna Live Forever, you pick up people super fast, which synergizes super well with Boon Circle of Healing, because if they get downed in your Boon Totem radius, you can just run up to them. You know, you're shielded by Shadow Step, so they aren't going to see the scratch marks. And you can, if they slug them for any period and they don't immediately come back to them, you have a good chance to heal them and then take a hit for them, which, A, you get a bunch of Ultrism for it, because not only are you picking them up and healing them, but you're also getting a Work and Live Forever stack and a protection hit. That is going to be super good. And as I said, Circle of Healing only is bad, so Shadow Step with it makes Circle of Healing not only good, but you're also using Shadow Step, which is also ridiculously good, if not borderline OP. And then, you know, well, actually, the Blood Point offerings are not in like the private match stuff, but ideally you use like a escape cake, or you got like you and a few friends of yours bring bloodies, especially like during a Blood Point event like this, where the idea is to get as much Blood Points as possible. A build like this you're going to get at least 30 to 40,000 Blood Points per game. And with like a escape cake, then you're getting even more. And then if you have friends of yours bringing bloodies and stuff, then GG, you're going to be getting like 100,000 or so each game, and you're going to be leveling up your characters super, super fast. So, that is the farming build. And here, I believe, is the Sprint Burst build. Yeah, that is correct. So, this is the best Sprint Burst build in the game, and honestly, this is the only one that you should use, if I'm completely honest. You have Self-Aware with Vigil. These 2 perks make the downtime, whenever you use your Sprint Burst, the worst part about Sprint Burst is getting it back after you, like, run away from the killer, or the killer gives up on you, and then you have to, like, get it back. With Vigil and Self-Aware, that downtime is basically cut in half. And the downtime doesn't feel nowhere near as punishing. And also, these 2 perks have versatility in their own right. You know, you get to move faster, which in some situations you're able to evade the killer outright. Vigil helps out with Sprint Burst's quote-unquote biggest counter, and that is Fearmonger. Vigil, basically, paired with this, means that you could walk away as the killer is getting close to you. You get your Sprint Burst, and then they can't do anything. You know, you get to use your Sprint Burst. It's the same logic as, like, Overcome with Vigil. You get to use it no matter what. And then you have Windows of Opportunity to run to whatever loop you want, basically. It's the same principle as Windows in every other build. So that's all I really have to say about this. Sprint Burst is very easy to use. It's the easiest exhaustion perk to use in the game. And this is the only one that I would use. Don't mess around with shit like self-care. If you want to use healing, just do this, dude. Literally just do this. And hell, if you can't afford this, you know what else you can do? Slap on a first aid med kit, and then use this. Or hell, if, you know, you got like a bunch of these, ditch the bandages and just equip this. You get 2 heals out of it. You get 1 heal, and then you get potentially a second heal with this. And then, hell, you can use this, lose your shitty yellow med kit, and then you could do a gen while you're being healed by the syringe. So there's that. So up next, I believe, is the Gen Rush build. Oh, yes. This build is
shitting in the tall grass.
Absolute. Thank you, Ashley. This build is absolutely devastating. So these 2 slots are actually pretty versatile, but these are like the best options. Windows and Spine Chill. But we're gonna go into these 2 first. Built to Last and Prove Thyself are incredible together. Built to Last is to basically get your toolbox back after you slam it into a generator. And so you have like a really strong toolbox. It's kind of the similar principles like the Overcome build, where you use a really strong medikit with super good add-ons. With an Engineer's toolbox, 2 charge add-ons, the Wire Spool and the Scraps are your go-to. And with the Commodious toolbox, you are going to want to use the Wire Spool and the Socket Swivels. That is like the best that you could use with these. Obviously, if you're low on like these yellow add-ons, you could use like a clean rag and scraps with the Commodious. But these are like the only toolboxes you should use, basically. The Commodious and the Engineers are the only ones that you should use with gen rushing builds. Don't mess around with anything else. And then Windows and Spine Chill are 2 good chase perks. And Spine Chill, I'd say, is like the only non-negotiable one. Windows is a non-negotiable slot. Windows, you can, or like the 3rd slot, you can do a lot with, right? You can use Streetwise, which, if you're with, like, somebody else that's using a Gen Rushing Built to Last build, if they also have Streetwise, remember, Streetwise stacks. So, if you have a friend of yours that also has Streetwise, then you both get it, and you can both slam your toolboxes into a gen, and you can just watch the progress get fucking destroyed. It is really, really funny. When the killer goes to tinker you off a gen, and then you get it done before they even get there. It's ridiculous. Small game is also super, super good here, because this means that if the killer has Ruin, you don't have to gen rush right away. And chances are, if they have Ruin, they have Tinkerer as well. So you're able to find their Hex Totems with small game. You take them out, and basically they no longer have Ruin Undying or whatever. You get rid of their gen regression perks, but you get to keep your gen progression perks. That is incredibly strong, and I have won a lot of games by just having somebody who has this build specifically, and the killer just gets destroyed and they don't know what to do. There's also another slot, or another perk that's good here. Oh, yeah. Borrowed Time. Borrowed Time is also really good here, because this means that if somebody gets down by a gen near you, you can just farm them. Especially if the killer has pop. You can just farm them, they get Borrowed Time, and then you can take a hit for them or whatever. Where is... Oh, yeah, Blast Mine is also good here, because if somebody goes down and the killer has pop, Blast Mine the gen, and hell, you're going to be getting Blast Mine pretty often, because those gens are going to be flying, and you're constantly going to be doing them as well. So you're going to be getting Blast Mine pretty often. You're not going to be able to get use out of it every game, but it is a very good way to punish killers who um, want to pop a gen, because that gives you extra time to get a hook save or do whatever. This is really good with gen rushing builds. And even like more niche options are good here. Like Distortion is good here because it not only lets you gen rush. I mean, obviously, if you prove thyself in a gen of somebody, Distortion isn't going to block their aura. So if you really, really want to, you can use Shadow Step only, and Shadow Step only is hilarious because this means that you can gen rush, block the aura of your teammate and yourself, and if the killer comes, you could potentially just lose them in Shadow Step entirely, and yeah, when this comes into clutch, it is really, really hilarious, because they waste time trying to look for you, they can't, they leave, and then, or they get paranoid about the gen, and then that's it. And then there's something like, where is it? Oh yeah, Fast Track. Fast Track is a good option here too, because more gen progression is always good. And then there is Stakeout too. Stakeout is pretty niche. I would really only use it in like challenges, but that is also good. So that's it for the gen rushing build. Up next, who do I have perks on? Was it Steve? Yeah, oh yes, the wake up build. Okay, so these three perks are familiar to you guys at this point, but there's a first here that is very, very prominent, and that is wake up. The idea behind this is you get the door open extremely fast. And there are clutch games where I have used this build, or Leo's used this build. The killer comes to the door, and the door just gets fucking destroyed because you have this plus resilience and spine chill, and you have Iron Will to hide from the killer. And hell, you can 25% the door before the lights come on, wait for them to come, they leave, and then you get back on the door, and then as they're coming back, that door gets opened no matter what, because it's just getting done so fast. So that's the idea behind this build, is to open the doors extremely, extremely fast. Now that might not seem good entirely because of stuff like No Way Out. But keep in mind, No Way Out is a badly designed perk, and it is really, really, really overpowered in this current meta, because it exemplifies the whole camping and returning to hooks thing, and it makes the strategy even incredibly strong. The amount of games where I've seen nurses camp their hook or huntresses camp their hook, and they just get 3 kills, a third kill that they absolutely do not deserve to get, or even 4K because of stupid ass No Way Out. I mean, if the killer has NOED, you can still destroy a door if this as well. No matter what, you also have like these 3 perks, which are good in the early to mid game, obviously. And then you have Wake Up, that's super good in the late game. No matter what. I mean, obviously, if you're on like an open map and you can't 25 the door, then yeah, you're kind of screwed, but Wake Up isn't always going to like win you games. The idea of Wake Up is that you get like as good of a chance as any to win a game. So there's that. Still really good though. And I believe the next build I have is on Felix. Yes, Head On. So, Head On, there are only 2 perks that you basically need. That are non-negotiable. Obviously, Head On, and then Quick and Quiet. Without Quick and Quiet, Head On is completely terrible and basically unusable. Do not use Head On without Quick and Quiet. That is the lesson to take away from this. And then, the most basic locker build... excuse me. Looks something like this. Deception, and then Decisive Strike. Deception lets you mess with the killer a bit. It's pretty funny when you make deception plays and the killer starts checking the wrong locker, respecting the wrong locker, and then you head on them as they check it, and then they go to the other one. And then Decisive Strike is really good because killers tend to get really pissed off at head-on players. Decisive Strike exemplifies the whole like head-on thing because you go into a locker, they might not even like respect the head-on immediately, and they might just pull you out, and then you Decisive Strike them, and then you can make the killer's life a living hell over and over again. But this isn't like the only options that you could use. You could use something like parental guidance is good here because you hit the killer with head-on and then you lose your scratch marks and your pools of blood. And you can combine this with Flashbang to completely lose the killer if you execute it. While you head on the killer, you get parental guidance, and then you Flashbang them, and then now they're completely confused and they don't know where you are. Very, very execution heavy, and it's not gonna this is really only gonna happen like once or twice a game. Really not worth bringing a build over, if you ask me. But it is pretty funny when these situations happen. The most consistent I've been able to find is with Deception, though. Deception plus Decisive Strike is the most consistent way to use head-on. You can use stuff like Spine Chill as well over Decisive Strike, but usually these four are going to be the main ones to use with head-on. So, is it Chill? Or no, it's Leon. Next is going to be the Aura build. And the idea with the Aura build is you have open-handed and then anything that you want. Aura builds are relatively unexplored, and I believe they have a lot of room for experimentation. The most obvious use of like open-handed or dedicated aura builds is open-handed, Kindred, and then something like Bond. So you have these two. So you have a perk that lets you see the killer, and your teammates can also see the killer's activities near you when you are hooked, or so on and so forth. And then you have Bond to see where your teammates are at all times. But as I said, this build has like a lot of it has a lot of potential utility. You could use Visionary, which is very niche, but in certain maps you can see the gens from an incredible distance. It's pretty crazy how far you can see gens. It also lets you basically figure out what the gen placement is at the very beginning of the match, although Visionary is outclassed by the Rainbow map, so do keep that in mind. Also, the Rainbow map, we'll get into items in just a second here, because there are even more possible builds of items. Spine Chill is really good here because of Killers of Fearmonger. If the killer has Fearmonger or Tinkerer, or it's a stealth killer where aura perks aren't really going to make that much of a difference, then Spine Chill is there to completely ruin their day. And hell, the fourth slot is infinitely customizable. You can use like exhaustion perks. You can use Detective's Hunch, because Detective's Hunch does work with aura perks. So if you were to use something like a green map, for example, and use a crystal bead with a map addendum, then you can show your teammates, all of your teammates, where all the gens are, where all the totems are, where all the everything is. All the time. And because of open-handed, this basically becomes 80 meters, and this is stored in the map every time a gen pops. So you're constantly able to show your teammates where totems are, which is good if you're looking for a hex. Good for when they want to set like new boon totems up. And there's also something that is very, very disgusting that I like to spam a lot, and that is a skeleton key with a blood amber and prayer beads. The idea behind this is that open-handed extends the range of this, the 32-meter range, by what, 48? Yeah, 48 meters, which is extremely far away. And you can see the killer from super far away. And at that point, you can use stuff like Built to Last to make this even more ridiculous, as if it wasn't already ridiculous enough. If the killer really hates you, you can see them through walls all match. And if your key, you know, you use your key a lot, boom, Built to Last, you get your fucking key back, and now you can wall hack them even further for even more ridiculous nonsense. Hell, I even have like a dedicated build for this, which is open-handed Kindred Built to Last, and then either Spine Chill or an Exhaustion perk. Like, you could use Decisive Strike or like Dead Hard. Anything is good in like the 4th slot at that point. Aura builds, like I said, are extremely versatile and unexplored. There are tons of options of Aura builds, but generally, you could do anything you want with them. That's why I think they're really good, because you can run pretty much everything, including the kitchen sink, and make it viable. And even use some like things that there's no way for the killer to even know that you have it. Like, you know, the killer can eventually figure out, you know, if you have a key and then this, and you are guessing everything right, and they can never ever mind game you ever, and every mind game of theirs completely fails, constantly, no matter what, then they're going to eventually figure out, okay, nothing is working, this guy might have a Blood Ember, but there's nothing they can really do about that. The only thing that a killer might be able to do is bring Franklin's Demise, but killers rarely will sacrifice a perk slot, because so many of like the gen regression perks are so strong now. Killers are rarely ever going to be like, I'm going to use Franklin's for this one guy that brings a key. That almost never happens anymore. Back before the hatch got changes, and the keys got changed, killers would bring Franklin's Demise, but that never happens anymore. So the odds of you getting a game where you get a killer with Franklin's Demise basically comes down to you going against pinheads, basically. And even then, you have Built to Last. You can just Built to Last your key. Pick your key up and then just Built to Last it. So, that is the Aura build. And then the last thing that we're going to be talking about, I don't even know if I think I forgot to, yeah. Or, actually, this isn't the last build we're going to talk about, because there's one more after this. This is the anti-slugging build. It's very self-explanatory. You have Tenacity and Unbreakable, so if you get slugged, you crawl away, and you recover very fast at the same time, and you can either let a teammate pick you up and save your Unbreakable for later on, or you could just crawl super far away, Unbreakable somewhere safe, and then that's it. And hell, you even have Soul Guard if the killer decides to try and be an asshole. If the killer is like standing at a door as you're crawling towards them, you can pick yourself up with Unbreakable in their face, and as you smack them, you get the Soul Guard protection. You then escape for free, and there's nothing they can do. And then you have Decisive Strike, which synergizes perfectly with these anti-slugging tools, because now you have the best anti-tunneling tool with a bunch of anti-slugging tools. This is really good late game against, like, camping killers, and if you get farmed, because then you can crawl towards a door, and if they don't pick you up, you Unbreakable and Soul Guard in their fucking face, and they get wrecked for it. Or they pick you up, you Decisive them, and then you escape that way. As long as you don't miss Decisive like a Muppet. Now, the final build that we're going to be talking about involves Deliverance. Now, Deliverance is potentially the strongest perk in this game, by far. The potential to do what Deliverance does is absolutely devastating. The ability to take yourself off the hook in a meta where the killer constantly returns to the hook over and over and over again, it is incredible because you waste massive amounts of the killer's time. You could have your entire team slam gens. One guy gets chased while you sit on the hook, and they might just stop chasing randomly. They get to reset for free while the other two are doing gens, and then they come back to the hook. And then if they force you in the second stage, you unhook in their face. They down you, and then you can decisive. And then that's it. Or they have to slug you for an entire minute and then continue the process of just sitting there and not doing anything. So, the idea of Deliverance is very clear. It is to punish the killer extremely hard for returning to the hook, and it is the perfect tool to trade with your teammates. This is a trading tool. You pull them all, you trade out with borrowed time, you get downs, they get away, unless if it's like a blight or a nurse and they are able to perfectly slug with no consequence. But other than those situations, that you get hooked, they are able to reset unless they themselves get tunneled. Your teammates get to stay on gens, and yeah, you get to unhook with impunity. And you have Decisive Strike. You basically, these two perks are non-negotiable. You need Borrowed Time to guarantee that you get a safe hook rescue, and you need Decisive Strike to get the most out of Deliverance. Because if they do not respect the slug, right, they don't respect DS, you unhook yourself, you go down, you use Decisive Strike on them, they get DS, now they have to chase you no matter what. But if they do chase you, if you give them a solid chase, like a 40-second run, the game is over. That game is over. Those people, they're on their gens are getting done, and now they're going to hop on new generators while the killer tunnels you. That game is 100% over, because the person that needs to reset has probably reset and is now hopping on a gen of their own. And then they got their gens done, and now they have a lot of progress on the other gens. The game at that point is over. You have completely annihilated the killer's momentum completely. You have robbed them of it. And you still have a fourth perk that you can use. You can use Tenacity. Really good in this slot. Obviously, Unbreakable if you want to make this a complete non-tunneling build. Or hell, a chase perk. Dedicated chase perk. Obviously, Dead Hard is going to be really good here, right? Where is Dead Hard? Is it on the... Oh, it's on the second page, alright. Yeah, Dead Hard. Really good here, obviously. Not so much Adrenaline. Adrenaline would actually probably suck there. Even like niche stuff like Off the Record here would be really good, because Off the Record, the killer is going to be completely thrown off by the fact that they know you don't have Iron Will, so now all of a sudden you are not making any noise, and now they're going to get really fucking confused on what's going on. And they can't see your aura anymore, so any potential chase aura perks they have are going to also be completely nullified. But at that point, they're going to figure out that you have Off the Record. So, but anyway, Off the Record is really good here. For the simple... I think this is the only build where Off the Record is going to be really consistent. And obviously Iron Will is good here too, because you pull yourself off the hook, and then you're completely quiet for, the duration that you're broken. And there might be some more, like, niche stuff, but for the most part, this is what you're going to be running on, like, Deliverance builds. And then that's it for now. Those are the best builds that you can run in Dead by Daylight. Those are obviously, like, the most consistent ones that I have found. Obviously, there's probably I'm going to come out with, like, a new video at some point later on this year, or maybe even next year. As perks get changed, which they will inevitably be changed. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I will see you guys next time. See you later.